Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Gayle, and today we're going to talk about our feet. So we often abuse our feet in a very passive way without even really knowing it by putting our feet into these tapered shoes with heels, and that over time it creates problems. A lot of people might have had plantar fasciitis or bunions or just general aches and pains in your feet. And that's not fun. So our feet are really important. We're on our feet a lot. It's our form of transportation unless we're in a car. Most of the time, most of us aren't using horses for transport anymore. But anyway, the idea is that they're really important. So this video, we're gonna focus on strengthening the feet, stretching the feet, how our weight is distributed on our feet, and find lots of ways to help our feet to feel good. So it would be really great if you could have a yoga tune-up ball or a tennis ball, a couple of small rubber bands. Now this isn't absolutely necessary, but if you have any small rubber bands, like something that would come on your vegetables, that can be really helpful. Some kind of strap. Or if you have like a stretchy band, like a thera-band like this is really perfect. I love using these. And some kind of blanket or towel. Okay, so take your time to get those props and we'll meet back here on the mat. Okay, let's get started. First, let's start with a little toe stretch. We're really stretching the space between our toes because we actually want to have broader feet, like where our feet can naturally spread. So the widest part of our foot should be at the tip of our big toe. But for a lot of people, their feet start to take the shape of their shoes, and so this first joint is the widest part. But we actually want to be able to spread the feet so that the edge of the toe is a little bit wider than the joint of the foot. So you can start by taking your right hand and threading your fingers in between your left toes. Try to get your fingers all the way to the base of your toes if you can, and to the base of your fingers. And that might not be possible for everyone, but just do the best you can. And then we're going to just kind of stretch, point the toes and stretch a little bit with our other hand, and then flex the foot and get a little stretch in the direction of the flexion. So extending the toes and flexing the toes. And just go back and forth. You want to be somewhat gentle, like we don't want to be really aggressive with our body, with our feet especially, but you do want to feel that the toes can move. And then start to circle your ankles, but at the same time pointing and flexing your foot actively. So just see if you can get some nice ankle movement in there, which is actually really important. And reverse the direction of your circles. Then spread your fingers to spread the toes. See if you can keep the space between the toes. Place your foot on your mat and see if you can see the color of your mat in between all your toes. And we'll do the same thing on the other foot. So thread your fingers in between your toes. A gentle point and stretch, and a flex and press. And just notice how you feel a stretch across the bottom of your foot when you're flexing and across the top of your foot when you're pointing. And that stretch goes all the way up your legs. So you'll feel the whole shin, muscles around the shin, stretch a little bit when you point, and the back muscles, the back chain, the calves, the hamstrings stretch when you flex. And then do that circle. No need to rush here. Better to go a little bit slowly so you can feel all the different sensations in each direction of your circle. And spread the fingers to spread the toes. Place the toes down, see if you can see the mat in between your toes. And then we're going to work on being able to move the toes independently. So we're going to kind of work in groups. The big toe is one group and the other 4 toes are the second group. So it might be easiest to start with one foot first. I'll just lift your big toe up and lower it down. Hold the big toe down, lift the other 4 toes up. And just repeat back and forth. Now you could do like a couple of reps of just your big toe, and then a couple reps of just the other 4 toes. And if you've never done this before, it might be surprisingly challenging. You might even have to hold your toes down at first, but with practice, you should get this range of motion. So let's do the other foot. Work the toes, lift and lower. Maybe laugh at yourself. Maybe start to gain greater appreciation of your feet and your toes and the movement. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of using these rubber bands to create a movement of the toes outward. And then with some tension on that, we're going to lift and lower the toes. So it's nice, you can do this seated, it's nice to do it standing too. So I want to create just enough stretch that my toes, there's a lot of separation between the big toe and the second toe. And then center your weight over your feet so that you feel like a lot of weight right here, just in the back of the arch, the front of the heel. And keep the big toe, the 4 toes down, lift the big toes up, lower the big toes down, lift the other 4 toes up. And just go back and forth. Again, not trying to speed through this, but to feel the stretch in the toes, be able to lift your feet up and down, your toes up and down. Good. So another way of doing that is either with this band, the thera-band, or even a yoga strap. So you could place the strap around your big toes and then cross the strap to create a little bit of outward pull. And same thing, lift the toes, lift the big toes, lower them down, lift the pinky toes. And you could do that same thing with this stretchy band. So again, just spreading the toes. And, whoops. And make sure you get it in there tight enough. Spread the toes and lift and lower. Big toes, other 4 toes. And you get the idea. It's also nice to give your foot a little foot massage. So take your tune-up ball or your tennis ball, keep your heel on the ground, see if you can push that ball right up against the front of the heel, and then see if you can lower your outside edge of your foot to the floor and the inside edge of the foot to the floor. So we're getting a little bit of ankle work while we're massaging the connective tissue, the fascia, on the sole of the foot. And we're going to cross the muscle fibers. You don't have to push hard here. Matter of fact, I used to go a lot harder, and now I just try and do it kind of nice and easy. And then you can roll along the sole of your foot, little circles. And just get creative here. You can even place your heel on the ball and just slightly wiggle it around a little bit and pump it up and down. Another thing you can do is bring the ball in between your toes, let the toes spread a little bit, and lift your heel up and lower down. I'm trying to keep this big toe mound on the floor as much as possible. And then see if you can go through all the different toes. Good, and let's do the other foot. So pin the ball, try and get close to the heel, roll to the inside of your foot and to the outside of your foot so that the ankle's getting a stretch as well. And roll along the foot and just kind of mix it up. You can do little circles. And you can use it on your heel, just kind of gentle back and forth, a little push and release. And then in between your toes, lifting the heel, lowering it down, going between each set of toes. Get a nice little stretch in your feet. Move the ball to the side for now. And just notice how that feels. See if you can place your feet hip distance apart, parallel to each other, so not turned out or turned in. So if you drew a line from the second toe through the middle of your ankle, that line would be more or less parallel. And now we're going to do an exercise called shortening the foot. So if I lift my toes, the arch naturally lifts. But if I keep the toes relaxed and just press down from this ball of the foot and try and drag it towards the heel, really engage the muscles of the foot, the arches are nice and lifted, and you can see, let's see, I can even get my finger a little bit underneath the outside arch and a lot underneath the inside arch. So really learning how to engage the muscles of the feet, keep the feet strong is really important. And then again, notice, are you too far shifted forward or back? You don't want to be way back on your heels and you don't want to be way forward on the ball end of the toe, but centered. Almost so that you're centered right over the top of the back third of the foot. So right around here where the arch ends and the heel begins. And you could practice lifting and lowering your toes here. Then bring your feet together, bend the knees softly, place your hands on your knees, and we're going to do circles. Just rolling to the edges of the feet. Nice and slowly. And reverse the direction of your circles. Another thing that's important is flexion of your ankle. So it's really nice to do this at the wall. Come to the wall, or you could do this at a desk or at a counter, just someplace that you can lean into and take a little bit of weight off your feet. That's the way I like to do this. And we're going to work at like flexing the ankles. So step 1 foot forward, fairly, a couple inches away from the wall, and then look at your feet and lift the arches. So engage the muscles of your feet, that kind of foot shortening exercise that we talked about. So the feet are nice and active, and keep that action in your feet as you start to stretch your knee forward. Make sure that your knee is going in the same direction as your second toe. Try and keep the heel down, and again, don't lean too much weight into the foot. And you can see I can do the same thing with the back foot if I have the foot stepped further away from my front foot. Or if let's say I didn't want to really get into the back ankle too much, I could bring it in a little closer. Let's switch sides. So it's important to take the time to set your feet up, to really engage the feet. And just gently stretch your knee forward and back. Try to be patient with this process. Sometimes I get a little impatient and push a little too far, and then you'll feel it the next day. Just noticing what it feels like. And then we're not trying necessarily to balance so much, but really use the muscles of the front of the tibia and the top of the feet to lift your feet up. So it feels like you're really working to pull the feet up. And that's why it's nice to have a hand to balance on the wall. So I'm not trying to lean back to counterbalance. I'm trying to keep my weight over the heels and just maybe a soft bend in the knees and really pull the toes up towards my head. So again, here, you can look down at your feet and try and keep them as even as possible, meaning the sole of the foot, like, you know, as if it was touching the floor, not turning in or out, or I'll just do that one more time. So pull up, bend the knees, feel those muscles working. Good, lower down. So just take your blanket or your towel, and I like to fold it by grabbing the sides of the towel and making a little stack. You can place it on the blanket, then on your mat, and place your feet on the blanket so your heels are below the ball mound of your feet. Keep those arches lifting, so use the muscles of your feet like that shortened foot, and then start to lift your heels up and slowly, with control, lower them down. And lift up. So you have to kind of squeeze your ankles in, really press into the ball mound of the feet. Hug the inner legs towards each other. And just see if you can do this, again, like I was saying, with a lot of control. Whoa! So you might fall forward if you're really going for a lot of height. So it's also like where you're placing your weight. If when you lift up, you start to lean too far forward, you'll kind of pitch forward like I did. So a lot of it has to do with centering your weight. This is a good workout for the calves. Good. And then another nice thing to do, like you could just take a thin material or a corner of your towel or blanket, and you just try and scrunch. This is really thick, so it's hard. You're trying to scrunch and move the mat. So you're really scrunching your toes. Like I said, if you had a thinner, more pliable material, you might be able to really get some good scrunching. But if you just make a little fold in your blanket and just think of trying to grab it so you could lift it up with your toes. You can do some work using the thera-band to stretch out, to work the muscles of the feet. You could also use a strap as well for this. So if you have the thera-band, place the thera-band of the strap across the sole of your foot, and then take the opposite foot and press it forward, creating some tension on the strap. And start to just evert your foot, so pressing the outside edge of the foot into the strap. And then you can hold it in place, and you'll really feel this whole chain of muscles that's working to when you press your foot out into resistance. So if you were using the strap, there wouldn't be movement like this, but you would still feel that edge, that resistance. And you could do that, 10 or 12 times, really however many times you want, and then maybe hold. And then we want to get the inside of the foot. So I'm going to bring my foot across. This one is a little trickier, but I'm just going to pull out the inside edge of the foot. So this is going to work the inner muscles along the foot and the leg. And then maybe hold that stretch. And we'll switch sides. So place the band around the opposite foot. Push out into the foot, take your free foot, create a stretch with a strap, and then press out to the outside edge of your foot. Try not to let the foot sickle or cave in. But trying to keep a neutral foot, like as if your foot was on the floor. And we'll just hold there. Feel the effect of the chain of muscles that's being activated. Release, and we'll work on the inside edge of the foot. So I'm going to bring my foot across and then press toward the inside edge of the foot, holding some tension. Again, if you have the strap that's not stretchy, you're just going to be pressing into resistance, so there won't be very much movement like you're seeing here. And maybe we'll hold the stretch. Hold that engagement of the feet. And slowly release. And and then I'm going to show you one more thing with this thera-band, that you actually need a stretchy band. So if you don't have one, you can just enjoy and watch. But I'm going to place the thera-band underneath my feet and tie a little knot in it. So that I can create some tension on the strap. And then standing up, I'm going to try and find that even weight on all four corners of my feet, keeping the arches lifted and my weight centered over the feet. And I'm just going to shift my weight into my left foot and pull up with the right foot and lower down. Shift the weight into the right foot, pull up with the left foot and lower down. So what this is doing is it's helping to lift. Make sure you have the band kind of near the back of the arch. It's helping to lift the arch as I balance. And then engaging the muscles of the legs to be able to lift up without being thrown off balance. So it's like going up some steps, a little bit like that. I don't know. It's just really helping to work the arches as I'm engaging the legs to move. Because we have a whole support system. The support system for our feet is not only like the sole of the foot down toward the ground, but it's also all the weight of our body above the feet. And now let's see if we can walk with our heels lifted. So to be able to walk slowly with your heels lifted takes a lot of concentration, a lot of control. So start with your feet parallel, shorten those feet, so engage the foot muscles, and without leaning forward too much, see if you can lift up through your heels. And then as slowly as possible, start to walk forward, one foot at a time, keeping the heels lifted, and then see if you can walk back. Keeping those heels lifted. And then we'll walk forward again. Oops. And walk back. And lower down. That's a good workout for your feet. I hope your feet feel great after stretching and strengthening and weight bearing and just exploring all the different nuances of our feet. They're amazingly complex. They contain like 27 bones, a quarter of the bones in our body, lots of tendons and ligaments along with that. So there's a lot that can go wrong with them. There's a lot we can do to fix them. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, tell your friends about this video, and leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you, love to know how you feel after doing this video and what you'd like to see more of. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video with me, and hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.